Before I get going, I want to just say a quick prayer because watching these videos for this podcast, going down the rabbit hole with these videos for this podcast is dark. So let's say a prayer before I go any further. The Almighty, please look over me, ancestors on the other side, look after me, and let me get through this. And any negativity that comes from the words that I speak on this subject, block them. Send them back where they came from, because I'm just trying to enlighten. Amen. Now, disclaimer. Anything I say in this video is my opinion. I get my information from the internet, from YouTube, from TikTok, from any other social media that's out there. And also just Wikipedia and all this other junk. That's why I get my information for it, and I form my own opinions, and this is my own opinion. Okay. So my last couple of podcasts has been about the unfortunate unaliving of those two lovely souls, Celeste and Ashley. And going down that rabbit hole and doing research, we got on the dark side of Hollywood. That's all I'm going to say. Dark side of entertainment. And how not only is the dark side of entertainment, it's just the dark side of money. I think I'm going to call this, and I wrote this down, Dark Forces on Earth, Money, Root of All Evil. And I think that's what I'm going to name this. Because long before me, long before you, long before, anything over here in these United States of America, there was dark forces over across the broad, across the water. And of course, they came over here and started their own rituals, their own practices, and accumulated a mass amount of wealth. And that wealth is untouchable to any of us, and they know that, and they do things to keep their wealth, and they do things to control us in order for them to keep their wealth and keep us blinded. And what's so funny about it is that things are being done in plain sight, and it's still like, wow, are we really living in the end of all times? Or is it that the internet is just showing everything that was only hidden in the dark? I don't know. But I was watching Sloan Bella. I did a whole almost marathon of her because of what she said about the Ashley Janae and the Celestine Hernandez. I said, let me watch some more of this lady's videos. And because of the way other bloggers speak of her, I said, let me watch some more of her videos. So I went and I watched a video, and it was of Lisa Marie Presley. I'm a Elvis Presley fan. He was the hottest thing walking when I was growing up. Movies, concerts, everything. So I kind of followed his daughter a little bit, but in her rest in peace, untimely death as well. So she was talking to her, and she was saying that the girl was telling her, she died because of a bowel situation. Okay, here's the interesting part that I missed. First, she didn't want to die. She had an out-of-body experience, saw herself sitting in the gurney, and she wanted to wake up, but somebody pulled the plug. And she said once they pulled the plug, she rolled out of her body and saw herself and couldn't get back into her body. Also, she said that she thinks that it was because of that liver bypass surgery she had to lose weight was the cause of her death. The interesting part was that she acknowledged that her son's death, which I think they had ruled as a suicide. I'm so sorry, y'all. I think they ruled as a suicide, was actually a homicide. And it was a homicide based on the fact that we all know she was in Scientology at one time. Her mother says that she was out of it, but she's probably still in it. And the powers that be, this cult, this people who own the world, and that you only get to know who they are if you reach a certain level. As a matter of fact, you can't reach that level unless you get with them. Unless you get with them. So she was saying that her family had a curse on them for a lot of years, generations, that Priscilla was supposed to meet Elvis, and they were supposed to have Lisa Marie, in order to keep Elvis's family's legacy going. So when that was said, it made me think, okay, he reached that plateau. So I'm sure if what everybody is saying is true about this secret society, I'm sure he had to do some type of initiation. He had to do something in order to get to that plateau. And since she would not do what this whole occult wanted her to do, they took her son. And it was like she didn't know that when she was here, but when she left, she figured it out. Wow. Since the windows are the eyes to the soul, let's look at both of their eyes. Now, why is Priscilla looking like a witch? And also, that was right before her death. Do you see like she looked like she's in a lot of pain? Now look at her and her son. Beautiful. And he looks so much like his grandfather. Look at there. One thing I found very funny about this whole of this podcast that I watched was that a lot of stuff came out about Elvis. But a lot of stuff came out about Elvis through Priscilla. Sloan Bella says she has never been able to pick up on Elvis. Does that mean Elvis is still alive? Does that mean that he is still walking this earth? Because Sloan Bella couldn't pick up on him. But she got this information from Lisa Marie, who said that she talked to her father. Was it talking on the phone? Was it talking on the phone? I'm scooting over because it's so far away. So Sloan couldn't pick up on Elvis, but Priscilla picked up on Elvis. And this is where we get the information about Elvis, which I got the information from Sloan. Was that Elvis suffered from a lot of child abuse, which to me is not shocking. And do something to you, they didn't give you care. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't surprise me that he was taken advantage of as a child. And I'm sure once he got to Hollywood that he had to do something. She also said that Elvis Presley was gay, that he liked men more than, well, bisexual, I'm sorry, because he liked men more than women. And I could see that too, because there's a video when Elvis is on stage, and if I could find a video, I'm going to put it in. If I could find a picture, I'm going to put it in here. But there's an old concert that he did, and when he's there joking around, we all know Elvis was high as a kite. He's even alluded on stage, that he sniffed, you know what I'm saying, that he did cocaine. So there was one concert that he did, and he was joking around, and he deep-throated a microphone. All right, I found the pictures and the videos. I thought he only did this once, but evidently Elvis did this more than one time. So he liked putting microphones in mouths. Lord have mercy. Turned to the males and started laughing. So when that came out, that picture in my head automatically came up about Elvis. She said Priscilla's working things, were over there reading things. I mean, I don't know what the afterlife entails, but from what everybody says, you have a chance to make up what you did not do here or figure out why you did what you did here. I don't know, but evidently that's what she's doing. And her son is with her. And that's another thing. She said she could see her son with her, but Elvis wasn't with her. Why wouldn't Elvis be right there with his baby? Unless Elvis is really living on an island somewhere. Furthers the speculation. So after the whole thing with the Elvis Presley, the family, how they had to the rituals and how one person had to marry another person. She also asked her about her marriage to Michael Jackson. And she said it was an arrangement, that they never had sex, consummated the marriage. They never did that. That it was for her singing career, which back in the day, I remember when they got married, that's what everybody thought anyway, because it was such a mixture of things. So, it was a PR stunt for him because he got to marry the king of rock and roll because he was the king of pop. We all figured that's what it was. And it was for her because she was really into music and she wanted to get in further her career. So, that was that with Michael Jackson. So when she said that about Michael Jackson, of course, I had to go to Michael Jackson. And I said, well, let me go to Michael Jackson because she touched on Michael Jackson. And I was kind of scared to go on Michael Jackson because I'm like, you're believing what she's saying, Michelle. Do you really want to go to Michael Jackson and you hear something that is going to damage what you think of the king of pop, the icon that you had ever since you was a child? And I said, the truth is the truth. People are people. You know what I'm saying? People do things. Nobody's perfect on this earth. So I went ahead to the Michael Jackson. So when she went through the Michael Jackson, I'm just skimming over here because I just want to make sure I get everything. Yes. So when she went to the Michael Jackson, she said she was talking to Michael Jackson. He was such kid-like. She saw Michael Jackson before the Michael Jackson, which I thought this was a good point too. She saw the Michael Jackson right before Thriller, before Billie Jean. So she saw Michael Jackson when he was in his late teens, when he was still with his family, the alpha, the dark skinned Michael Jackson. One thing that got me on her thing with Michael Jackson, when I think it's a 3-part episode with this Michael Jackson. Lisa Marie was only 1 episode, but I think Michael Jackson took 2 or 3 episodes. But one thing I noticed was she said that he was very childlike, which I can imagine because his childhood was taken away from him. That he also was abused, an all around abuse. Abused as a child, which to me makes sense because he was brought into the entertainment industry as a child. We all know there's nothing but pedophiles there, so that makes sense as well. That okay, I'm getting to understand Michael Jackson a little more. It's a lot of trauma there. Another thing that also got me with Michael Jackson was that she said that he was not the one that wanted plastic surgery. That his managers and the powers that be told him he was so desperate to leave his brothers and to build his own persona and become that plateau, that he basically sold his soul. Basically, and because he was such a religious person, prior to that, which, she touched on, maybe his religious prefaces was not all peaches and cream before, but he did have more spiritual morals, I guess I would say, prior to Billie Jean, which is basically where he said he had to do things in order to get to that plateau. He had to do things that he did not want to do. Okay, I found some pictures when Michael Jackson was younger, right before Thriller. Look at his face. Look at his eyes. You can see there's joy. There's a person. There's joy, no matter if he was smiling or not. You can still see in his eyes. And these were right before Billie Jean. You could tell by the curls, not quite right. And this is curl is quite right, but right before Billie Jean. Look at after Billie Jean. You know, he said that he used to, according to Solabella, he used to wake up not knowing where he was. It was like it was two people inside of him. And I've heard that before with a lot of these entertainers, that they go and they trance out and then they come back and they don't know what's up, aka Sasha Fierce, which is a common thread with all of these entertainers and all of these rituals, is that at some point, if you want to hit that mark where you are global, you have to do something. And I don't even think it's global. I think if you just want to hit a mark, you have to sign, you have to do something that will haunt you for the rest of your life. If you're a person that has some type of morals in you, it's going to bother you for the rest of your life. And I think that's what happened to him. So he did not want to have plastic surgery. It was the managers. And again, some people might sit here now and say, that's crazy. All you have to do is say no. But if you're my age or older, you know that Hollywood is famous for saying you're going to get breast implants. You're going to fix your nose. You're going to do this. Your hair is going to be red. Your hair is going to be white, and you have to do it. So when I heard that, I said, "Oh, that explains to me why he got plastic surgery." Now, another thing that clicked in my mind when she mentions that is that, you know, when you go under for something, you don't know what you're going to wake up to. You have entrusted whoever, whatever doctor's in front of you. You don't know if that doctor got paid off to chop off your nose to its a little point, and so that the powers that be, because you're not following what they want, can now say that, you know, you're making yourself look like Pinocchio. All that clicked in my mind, and I'm like, if he had to sell his soul to do this, and at some point in Michael Jackson's career, he started fighting back against the machine. And it just so happened when he started buying catalogs and fighting back against the machine, that's all when that plastic surgery started going wrong. Okay, I wanted to show Michael Jackson's surgeries. Now, right there, I think he should have just stopped. It got a little bit excessive, but you can see the hurt behind his eyes. I truly believe they did this to Michael Jackson. I truly believe that they took advantage while he was under. That's what he looked like towards the end. So can you imagine, and this is just my opinion, can you imagine going to sleep thinking, good, I found a doctor who is going to correct what these managers have made me do to my face, and then you wake up with something even worse, and there's nothing you can do about it? Do you go to another doctor? Do you trust that you'll come out of there with a nose? Do you trust that you won't come out of there with a cleft chin? Can you trust that you won't go out of there with cheekbone? Can you trust that? So that's what clicked in my mind when she was saying that he was forced to do the plastic surgeries. And then she also said that he did not have the skin disease, that he was bleaching himself white because he felt in his mind that the powers that be would not allow a black man to be as wealthy as he was and still live. So maybe he thought if he made himself a clown, he could still live. I don't know. Not saying that he made himself look like a clown, but he was very unusual. So it was just like, oh my God, you know. And then she got on the situations of the child abuse, and she said he didn't come out and say that he did it, but he said that he did what he had to do, that he was made to do it. Another thing that I and I thought about a long time ago with the whole Michael Jackson thing is that, in thinking about how you have to do certain things to reach this plateau, and this is from what I hear and see, this is common to make these celebrities have intercourse with children, or have intercourse with men, or have intercourse with animals, recorded, so that later on, if you're not following the program, guess what? This gets leaked. This gets leaked. You see what I'm saying? So what he was alluding to, I guess, is that he kept saying that he loved children, that he would never willingly want to hurt a child. But also another thing that was kind of interesting was that she said that he thought of himself as two people, the one before all the fame and the one that was after the fame, and that the one that was after the fame took control of him, like he was basically possessed. you know that he would black out and he would wake up and he'd be in the bed with a child, or you know what I'm saying. So I don't know, it throws you down a whole big old rabbit hole of situations. And it was just sad, because if you think about Michael Jackson and most of these child actors or child singers, they usually are into drugs by a certain age. They usually, have ran its course by a certain age. You know what I'm saying? And we but the fact that Michael Jackson had this persona, and I'm just thinking about it and smiling to myself, thinking about the memories of growing up and watching Michael Jackson. The persona was, always love, always love. You know what I'm saying? And to think that that person wanted that plateau so much that he would compromise himself and still be taken out. Oh, another thing that was good was he had said to her that, about his death, that no, he did not die from propofol. No, that he was not being injected to go to sleep with propofol. He said at the end of his life, he was even too scared to eat food because he knew people was coming after him, because he had accumulated so much with the catalogs. The catalogs that went back to anyway. So he had accumulated so much with his catalogs and in his money, and went through so much to accumulate that he would never take propofol with in his house unregulated. He said that's just something they threw out there to throw us off the track, that he was actually murdered, and they had finally gotten to him, that he said that, and the way she was describing it, it was like he was kind of really pissed off that his fans and everybody just believed that he was a drug addict that was taking propofol, when that was further from the truth. And that from a friend, people, because I went back and watched a little bit of documentaries by him, and once you watch one thing, other stuff pops up. So and one thing, a friend of his said that he was scared for his life. I mean, even on phone conversations, he was saying that he was scared of his life, that he didn't sleep because he was scared of his life, that he wouldn't eat, and people were saying, oh, he was so thin. A dancer's body is thin. Yes, he might have been even more thin because he was scared to eat. He was scared he's scared that he was going to be Kim Portered. Scared to eat, scared to drink, And so he said to look into insurance. And another thing, when she said for him to look into insurance, I had watched this documentary about Michael Jackson a couple of weeks ago. And the promoters of the This Is It tour, one promoter had said, yeah, when he passed away, I was scared because we had put in so much money into it. But I had got my money back 3 times fold after his death. 3 times fold after his death. So everybody was paid off very nicely. And it just makes you think, this is the same entertainment industry that was built on destruction, was built on controlling their stars, was built on drugging their stars, was built on using their stars so they couldn't use them no more and throwing them to the side, and basically covering what their stars did in the early parts of Hollywood. Then when stuff started getting out in the tabloid magazines, and now the internet, you can't hide anything with your stars anymore. Cell phones, you can't hide anything with your stars anymore. But it used to be a time that they could. And it makes me just go back and think about all these people who, dealing with, like, with Michael Jackson, and with the Lisa Marie. I called her something else. I don't know. But when Lisa Marie had said, I called her Priscilla. That's what I called her. But Lisa Marie, y'all, I was talking about Lisa Marie. Anytime I said Priscilla, I was talking about Lisa Marie. So, it said these cults rule everything, and we are just here falling into it, looking at it right here in front of our faces, but we are so brainwashed that we do not care. And these cults have been going on for a long time, since the beginning of time, since the beginning of money. And I went and I watched another documentary, and I want to make sure I get this documentary right. And it was called The Dark Side of Hollywood, Occult and Rituals. And it was by Stories by Thomas Jacob. And if you go on YouTube and you watch that, it will tell you everything my mind is thinking. And it explains a lot. It explains a lot. Now, one more thing I want to talk about, because it's coming to 30 minutes. I'm trying to keep these things on 30 minutes now. Is I want to go back to the Celeste, because we're on the rituals anyway. So I was watching another podcaster, and I don't have her name now, but I will insert her name somewhere once I edit this before I put it up. And this particular podcaster, her podcast was months. I think her podcast was like August of last year, maybe even October of last year. Sloan Bellows was this year, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But she basically said the same thing. And she must have been telepathic, because she kept, like, she was actually feeling it. She had to keep stopping what she was saying and gather herself. Now, it could all be a ploy. I'm not going to say it's not. But the stuff she was saying lined up to what Sloan Bella was saying, lined up to everything I was looking at about fame and how to be famous and what you have to do to pass that level. And so let's go back to that. She was saying that she said there was more than one person in the room. She was doing it like she was in the girl's body. That's how she was relaying this. But she said there was more than one person in the room. It was like 3 or 4 people who was actually doing things to her. Or I should say doing things to her body. And then you had other people that were behind watching and instructing the people what to do. And they were in, of course, the cloaks. And then I think she even said there was video cameras. So people outside, like I had said before, placing bets, are looking at this as well. Dark web shit looking at this as well. And she said that they did it for fame. All for fame. All for fame. But it was more than just D4VD that did something to this girl. And it was for to get to that next level. Because if you think about it, the day before his album release, the day before. So did he prolong this? He really couldn't prolong it no more? Or was it a full moon or something happening the day before his album release that he had to do it that night, and that all these people who was with him allegedly had to do that night to get what they want, to be up there, to get that certain plateau? And out of all these people who were there on both of these girls' cases, because they had said that somebody was watching the Ashley Janae, and I showed a picture where there was two guys in the background. It's on the internet, right there in plain sight, y'all. Two guys in the background just watching this girl, and all for fame. So who were the other people? Who were the other people? And have they got their fame? Because two people I know are in jail. You know, it's the more you go down this rabbit hole, the more it is. Another thing I want to mention too, she said something about Michael Jackson's eyes. That his eyes changed. In the last video I did a D4VD. I showed how his eyes changed before and after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look at Michael Jackson and get some pictures before Billie Jean and after Billie Jean. And we're going to look at his eyes. Because now that I think about it, before, Michael Jackson always had those sad eyes, which made him adorable when he was young and fine when he was, man, the things I wanted to do to Michael Jackson. And it was because of Billie Jean. They also said that the cult put things in front of us in subliminal messages and all that stuff to get us hooked. Because I know one thing, and one thing is certain. You know, Michael Jackson was a teen throb, okay? You know, Dear Michael was a song. People were writing songs about Dear Michael because Michael Jackson was gay too. I don't know if I said that before. But Michael Jackson liked men. That's what was on Sloan Bella. Which makes sense to me. It makes sense because when you see him playing and stuff, it's a little too. So because he liked men and you just can't come out and say you like men, you don't like nobody, you have little kids around you, and yeah. But I'm going to go look at his eyes. Because I do recall that, you know, there was a scene in Billie Jean when he was standing over the bed, and he had his hands in his pockets, and he's looking down at that bed, and I'm like, damn, that's a fine brother. I love the Jerry curl, and I like that nose job. Yeah, okay, you could have kept your nose because you were still an attractive male, but damn. That's when Michael Jackson really, I think, became a sex symbol. And lo and behold, he liked men all the time. I'm mad that people cannot be who they want to be. A lot of this bullshit is because people can't be who they want to be. A lot of this bullshit is because people want to rule the world. I don't want to rule the world. That's like I said in the last one. Just keep me in a bubble in the Matrix. I don't want to rule the world. Just keep me with a nice roof over my head, and me being able to eat, and me being able to go here and go there every now and then. I don't need Gucci. I don't need Prada. I don't need, you know, hair, nails. I don't need all that. You know, I do my own. No, thank you. I'm not going to fall into that. That's just more money. But anyway, so I forgot what I was saying, but Michael Jackson at the end. That Celeste thing really, those two podcasters from different months apart saying the same thing. And they also said at the end of this year that something's going to come out and we're going to really know what's going on. So will David speak? Another thing is, I'm just going to call him David, not D4VD, but he looks a little in the eye. So it's going to be an Epstein thing to keep him quiet? Y'all know what I mean about that? Or is he, I don't know. It's interesting. There's something happening in the May with him I think I might watch. But y'all, that's what I have. I'm going to do one more podcast before I start going back into this music. And it'll probably be On somebody, oh, one more thing. I just see how my mind works. So Michael Jackson has said to somebody at the end of his life, and he was getting ready to do the shows, that he was just too tired. He didn't know how a man his age with a body that, because his body, if you think about it, how many times you can spin on stage? He's been doing it since he was 6. I'm sure his body was shot. Couldn't really do those tours. You know what I'm saying? He just really couldn't do the tours. But he had a dream. And in the dream, he was laying there and he was getting ready to sign something. And the person that had gave him the paperwork to sign, Clive Davis. Not the real occult Clive Davis. Gave him something in Michael Jackson's dream to die. Dream to sign right before he died. That cough has let me know I've been talking too long. So the next one, I think I'm going to stay in this little realm, this little thing here I got going on. Then I'm going to go back to music and do some videos and stuff. Then I'm going to do some more podcasts probably the end of this month. But the next one, I'm going to do one more before a little hiatus. And it's, because it's funny that even though Michael had dealings with Sony, which was Tommy Mottola, which is a whole another situation, Mariah Carey, but to say Clive Davis, who's been around much longer than Tommy Mottola, who has, it's a lot of insurance money behind his name. But anyway, I'm gonna go, y'all. I'm done. I just had to bring that to you, and wait to the next one because I'm gonna do some more research and come back with some more stuff. Maybe I won't be so scattered. Maybe I'll remember. You know, they got this thing out now where it could be a teleprompter for you. So as you're on the screen, you know, the words will come up, and then maybe I might try that instead of looking down at these notes. Well, anyway, y'all, have a good day and be blessed and be safe. Bye.